In this video, I'm going to talk about the differences between advertising for a B2B company versus a B2C company. We work with people all the time on the talent side of our business that say, well, I know Facebook. I know Facebook, so I can do B2B and B2C equally. And that's not really what we want to hear when we're talking to potential talent for projects, because in fact, the approach to even a singular channel is really different when it's a B2B company versus B2C. So this video is to address how those are different and some of the things that we typically do to capitalize on the differences. So um, one of the differences with B2B is that you're often working with a longer latency period between an ad impression and a conversion. And so that means you cannot trust a cookie, like a pixel-based conversion that sets a cookie, and then either the user will delete their cookies or they'll convert on a different browser. There's much less instant gratification. Um, Another thing about B2B that's different is that you often know who your prospects are, like you know their name, and you know you want to hit them with an ad, whereas consumers is much more often anonymous, an anonymous audience, and a much larger audience. A third difference is that um, um, B2B often, not always, but often has higher lifetime values, and so you can often afford to do more advertising and for it to be ROI positive. Um, so those are some of the differences that we're often keeping in mind. The way that those things play out in our practice. So a few things. So one, custom audiences are your friend. Um, in the B2C landscape, it's often taking a custom audience of your best converters and doing a lookalike. That's great, and you can do the same thing with B2B. But in addition to that, with B2B, you often know your unconverted prospects, and just using a custom audience in Facebook or in the Google ad products can be really, really powerful. And so if your customers are part of an association where you can get a list of members with email addresses and or phone numbers, if you are speaking at an event or going to an event and you can get an attendee list, that's super powerful and a great source for a custom audience. In B2B, if you have good LTVs and you have a custom audience, then you should basically be hammering them with ads all the time, because your LTVs can support it, and you're not wasting impressions. Another thing we often do with B2B is we'll target an upper funnel goal, or excuse me, an upper funnel event for conversion. So if the latency is going to be 6 months, then you probably just shouldn't be using pixel-based conversion tracking, for that end conversion period, because there's just going to be too much leakage. So a better approach would be um, to instrument your site to fire a conversion pixel on an email sign up or a demo submit or a webinar, whatever you can to get like a work email address. And then no matter what they do with their cookies, no matter what device they eventually convert through, and also if they convert through a sales team, another huge factor with B2B, you can still attribute credit, at least partial credit, back to the ad or the channel that brought them there and got you that email address. So that's a huge one, kind of moving up funnel. Another one is just retargeting is huge. It's important for both B2C and B2B, but for B2B in particular, sort of as they move through the funnel, you want to have stage specific education and ads at each step. And I think this is one of the mistakes that we see often with companies that have a sales team and a marketing team that aren't working super functionally together. We often see a marketing team that throws like MQLs over the fence, and then it's the sales team's job to convert them. But at that point, marketing checks out, and that's, in my view, the wrong approach. Marketing needs to stay involved as they get worked through the funnel. primarily through like performance marketing, through advertising at the different steps in the funnel. Lastly, there are different ad formats in Facebook, for example, that are really relevant to B2B. So you can do lead ads where they never have to leave Facebook. They just submit their contact information on Facebook. That can be really powerful, particularly if you're trying to drive like a really fast like speed to contact. You could literally have a lead form that using the Facebook API immediately creates a lead in Salesforce or whatever, and you could then connect that to a dialer and get contact really quickly. And then in theory, you've cut out this whole step of like, you know, going to a website and filling out the information that Facebook already has and can autofill on Facebook. So those are some initial thoughts on B2B versus B2C advertising.